Children, you're dismissed to your Sunday school. Alright, good morning everyone. It's nice to see everyone here today, and it's nice to preach my second part of my sermon on Exodus 3 and 4. I'm glad to see all of you here today. For me, public speaking is not something that's natural for me because I'm shy by nature, and it's difficult for me to just talk to people and just share with people, especially when there are a lot of people who are just looking at me and wondering what I'm going to say next. And my first experience with public speaking was not a good experience. I was 23 years old, and I was a substitute teacher. And I said the very worst words you could say as a substitute teacher. As I was looking at all the expectant faces, 30 of them, looking at me, wondering what I would say, how it would be like, and what I would do, I said, "Good morning, class. I'm Mr. Wong." Now, those weren't the worst words just yet, but the worst words came after that. And I said, "This is my first time substitute teaching." So that was the worst words that I could possibly say as a substitute teacher. And from then on out, the whole day was uphill battle to try to regain the respect and attention of the class, to tell them that I had something to say that I was worthwhile to listen to. That wasn't just someone to fool around with. But they were like, "Oh, great, fresh meat." so they had their fun with me. So I can understand the difficulty that Moses had when Moses had fears of public speaking. Because for him, he was thinking, well, what if the words come out wrong? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I convey your message in the wrong way, and people get the wrong idea of you, or they don't listen to me, or what if I botch it, mess it up? What if I say this is my first day substitute teaching? You know? What if, all these what ifs? What if this, what if that, what if... So today, we're going to be taking a look at... Is the slideshow thing working? Kind of.
You have to turn the...
Oh, yes, turn it on. Thank you. And then there's a reassuring vibration. Oh well. How does this work?
Open sesame.
Open sesame. Okay, cool. So now we're going to take a look at Exodus chapter 4. Sorry for that technical difficulty. My familiarity with this device has been interesting. Anyways, so we're going to be taking a look at Exodus 4. In Exodus 3, God calls Moses out from being a shepherd of sheep, leading sheep in the wilderness, to be a shepherd for Israel, leading Israel out of Egypt. And Moses is afraid. And in Exodus 4, we'll continue on with the rest of Moses' objections to going out and doing what God would have him to do. Okay, so I don't know, can you all see this? Is it okay? All right? So this is actually my translation of Exodus 4, 1 through 17. You can go ahead and read it in your NIVs, NESVs, ESVs, whatever you have, to confirm that this is actually the Word of God. But this is my translation. I do this just because it helps me, and so I'll just read from here. "And Moses answered and said, 'But what if they do not trust me, and they do not listen to my voice, because they say, Yahweh has not appeared to you?' And Yahweh said to him, 'What is that in your hand?' And he said, 'A staff.' And he said, 'Throw it to the ground.' And he threw it to the ground, and it became a snake. And Moses fled from it. But Yahweh said to Moses, 'Stretch out your hand and seize its tail.' And he stretched out his hand, and he took hold of it, and it became a staff in his palm. This is so that they may trust that Yahweh has appeared to you, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." So, God has been trying to get through to Moses ever since Exodus 3:10, that I want you to go to Egypt. Look, I'm sending you to go to Egypt to bring my people out so that they may serve me and no longer serve Pharaoh. But Moses was, but I'm afraid. But I'm not able to. But I can't speak. But I can't do this. But I can't do that. And so what God says next doesn't seem at all related to what Moses is fearing. He says, "What is that in your hand?" Not a slideshow like flipper, but a staff. Staff. Okay, where are you going with this, God? I have a staff in my hand. You know it's a staff. You're God. You know everything. Why did you say that? Wait for the point. Throw it to the ground. I'm not actually going to throw this to the ground. But throw it to the ground. It becomes a snake. pick it back up. It becomes a staff. And with 3 seemingly unrelated instructions to Moses, God makes his point. He gets his objective across. And his objective is to not have Moses immediately object to what he's going to say. You see, like, God may explain to us something that we need to do, but when it keeps on meeting up with reluctance, when it keeps on meeting up with objections, with reservations on why we can't do this or how we can't do that, what God might tell you might seem unrelated, but he's going to tell you to take a step of faith. He's going to tell you this is what you need to do because it's hard for me to explain to you why you need to do this, because I've been trying to explain it to you, but now what I want to do is I want to show you. And I want you to take this step of faith. For instance, God, I don't know if I can deal with this temptation. This temptation has always been beating me. I can't overcome it. It's just too hard for me. God, I guess both of us will have to live with the fact that this is just too hard for me to overcome. But what God might be hearing is that, God, I have a hard time getting over this temptation. You'll just have to deal with it. That might be what God's hearing. And what God's saying to us as a step of faith that we can take is, why don't you identify one thing that leads up to this temptation that makes it hard for you to resist it? Why don't you surrender that to me? Just one thing. Watching TV late at night or being compulsive at eating or whatever it is, just surrender one thing. Okay, I will not drink soda anymore. Just one thing. Surrender that one thing. And then after that, surrender the next. And then after that, the next, the next, the next. And then after that, God's power becomes apparent to us, just as it was with Moses. You see the point of God saying, throw down your staff? The point wasn't just to do magic tricks. The point was so that they may trust that Yahweh has appeared to you, the God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. With each mini objective that God gets Moses to do, the point isn't just to show off or do that. The point is the original point, which was, I want you to go to Egypt, and I want you to tell my people that the God of their fathers has appeared to you, and that he wants to save you. His original point, it's about salvation. So, it doesn't end there. God knows that Moses still has more objections. So God says this, and Yahweh said to him still, now bring in your hand next to your chest. And he brought in his hand next to his chest. And he brought it out, and behold, his hand was leprous like snow. And he said, return your hand next to your chest. And returned his hand next to his chest. And he brought it out from next to his chest, and behold, it was restored like his flesh. And it happened that if they do not trust you, and they do not listen to the voice of the first sign, they will trust the voice of the next sign. I know that there's a word that I replaced. It's bosom. It just didn't feel right to put bosom in there, so I put next to the chest. It's kind of like as if he had a coat, and he reached in, and then after that he took it out, and his hand was leprous. It's like, whoa, it's diseased. It's like a zombie hand. Gross. God, turn it back. And God luckily says, okay, put your hand back in here. And then after I say, oh, it's restored. Great. Awesome. It's cool. It's good. And then after that, God shows them another sign. And if it happens that they do not trust even these two signs, and they do not listen to your voice, you will take from the waters of the river, and you will pour it to the dry ground. And the waters which you took from the river will become blood on the dry ground. So God knows Moses' heart. Moses is about this, but this is just a staff. You're asking me to go to Egypt with a staff that turns into a snake, and then after that, I'll be like, oh, I'm Serpentor. I can... G.I. Joe reference. Anyhow, like, it's so... Who's going to listen to Serpentor? Who's going to care about this stuff? Okay, God says, stop. Now, put your hand in your coat and take it out. Ooh, wow, I have a zombie hand. Not only Serpentor, but zombie hand man. And then after that, bloody river Nile, man. Okay, so he has all these superpowers now. But what God is trying to prove to him is that I'm powerful enough to do this. It's not about you. It's about me. I'm going to be the one that does this. And the thing that I want to point out is that Moses' first objection, what if they don't listen to my voice? God says, don't worry about them listening to your voice. They're going to be listening to the voice